Deep in the heart of ancient China, where emperors ruled with divine mandate and legends whispered of celestial dragons soaring through the heavens, there existed a technology so advanced, so mysterious, that its secrets were said to harness the very energy of those mythical beasts. Imagine a time when the line between science and magic blurred, where towering pagodas hummed with unseen power, and artisans crafted devices that defied explanation. This isn't just fantasy, it's the forgotten reality of dragon energy tech, a lost chapter of history that modern scholars are only beginning to unravel. What if I told you that the ancients weren't just worshipping dragons, but may have been channeling their energy into inventions far ahead of their time? Think about the stories passed down through generations, tales of glowing orbs that lit grand halls without flame, of machines that predicted the weather with eerie accuracy, or even rumors of flight achieved long before the Wright brothers took to the skies. These weren't mere myths, they were glimpses of a sophisticated understanding of energy, one that drew inspiration from the dragon, a symbol of power, transformation, and cosmic balance. But here's the burning question: how did this knowledge vanish, and what clues remain buried in crumbling texts or hidden within the silent ruins of forgotten temples? Today, we're embarking on a journey to uncover these secrets, a quest that will take us from the imperial courts of the Tang Dynasty to the remote mountain monasteries where monks guarded esoteric knowledge. Along the way, we'll examine ancient blueprints, decode cryptic inscriptions, and explore the startling parallels between this lost technology and some of today's most cutting-edge scientific breakthroughs. This isn't just a story about the past, it's a revelation that could reshape how we see history itself. So, if you're ready to step into a world where legend and science collide, where the whispers of dragons might hold the key to untapped energy, then let's dive in. The mystery of China's dragon energy tech awaits. In ancient China, dragons were far more than mythical creatures. They were the living embodiment of cosmic energy, weaving together heaven and earth in a delicate balance. Unlike the fire-breathing beasts of Western tales, Chinese dragons symbolized benevolent power, rainfall, and the cyclical rhythms of nature. Emperors claimed descent from these celestial beings, wearing robes embroidered with dragon motifs to signify their divine right to rule. Temples and palaces were adorned with their sinuous forms, not just as decoration, but as conduits for harnessing the unseen forces they represented. The concept of dragon energy, or Long Kai, permeated every aspect of life. Philosophers spoke of it as the vital breath of the universe, the same energy that flowed through rivers, shaped mountains, and animated human destiny. Ancient texts like the Classic of Mountains and Seas described dragons as architects of the natural world, their movements responsible for earthquakes and seasonal changes. Alchemists sought to capture this energy in elixirs, while architects designed pagodas with twisting spires meant to mimic a dragon's ascending flight, channeling celestial power downward to bless the land. One striking example comes from the Tang Dynasty, where engineers built drainage resonators, bronze vessels shaped like coiled dragons. When placed in waterways, these devices emitted haunting tones during floods, believed to be the dragon's voices warning of imbalance. Modern researchers have found these resonators actually altered water pressure, reducing erosion, proof that myth and function were intertwined. Even today, traditions like dragon boat festivals and qigong exercises echo this ancient belief in harnessing cosmic vitality. But why dragons? Their serpentine form mirrored the twisting path of rivers and lightning, symbols of life giving yet unpredictable power. They represented transformation: water into vapor, seed into harvest, chaos into order. To work with dragon energy wasn't about domination, it was about alignment, synchronizing human ingenuity with nature's rhythms. This reverence wasn't superstition. It was a sophisticated worldview, one that modern science is only beginning to appreciate. As we peel back layers of folklore, we uncover a forgotten dialogue between humanity and the energies that shaped our world. The legendary Yellow Emperor Huangdi stands as one of China's most revered figures, a ruler who didn't just command armies but seemingly commanded the very forces of nature itself. Ancient texts describe him as a bridge between mortals and the celestial realm, a man who didn't merely worship dragons but collaborated with them. According to the records of the grand historian, Huangdi's rise to power was marked by a cosmic event, the appearance of a golden dragon in the heavens, an omen that signaled his divine mandate. But this wasn't just symbolic theater. The emperor's reign sparked an unprecedented era of innovation, from the invention of the compass to advancements in medicine, all of which were attributed to his mastery of dragon energy. Consider the compass, a device that revolutionized navigation. While modern versions rely on magnetism, Huangdi's original design, known as the south-pointing chariot, was said to harness the guidance of dragons. Historical accounts describe it as a mechanical marvel, a bronze figure atop a chariot, its outstretched arm perpetually pointing south no matter how the vehicle turned. Scholars now speculate that hidden gears and lodestones might have powered it, but ancient artisans insisted it worked by channeling the same invisible currents dragons rode through the skies. This wasn't superstition, it was an early understanding of geomagnetic forces wrapped in the language of myth. Even Huangdi's military strategies bore the mark of dragon energy. Before pivotal battles, he consulted wind and rain masters, specialists who could allegedly summon storms or clear skies by manipulating atmospheric chi energy said to be stirred by dragon movements. One famous account tells of Huangdi defeating the rebel Kaiyu by unleashing a fog so dense it blinded enemy troops, only to disperse it moments later with a sudden gust. Meteorologists today might recognize this as a natural temperature inversion, but to the ancients, it was proof of the emperor's symbiotic bond with the dragons that governed weather. Perhaps most intriguing are the whispers of Huangdi's final act. Rather than dying, he was said to have ascended to heaven on a dragon's back, his physical form dissolving into pure energy. Some interpret this as poetic metaphor, but Taoist alchemists took it literally, believing he'd unlocked the secret to transcending mortality through dragon kai. This idea echoes in practices like Niden or internal alchemy, where adepts circulate life force through the body in spiraling patterns mirroring a dragon's flight. Could these techniques preserve fragments of an ancient energy science, one that viewed the human body as a vessel for the same power that shaped rivers and storms? Huangdi's legacy challenges us to rethink the boundaries between myth and technology. His story suggests that dragon energy wasn't just a spiritual concept but a framework for innovation, a lens through which early scientists decoded the rhythms of the natural world. The compass, weather manipulation, even longevity techniques all point to a civilization that saw energy not as something to exploit, but to harmonize with, as if riding the dragon's back rather than trying to tame it. As we piece together these fragments of history, we're left wondering, how much of our modern understanding of energy was known millennia ago, just waiting to be rediscovered? In Taoist philosophy, the dragon wasn't merely a creature of legend. It was the living expression of Kai, the vital breath that animates all things. Picture this energy as an invisible river flowing through the cosmos, twisting like a dragon's body through mountains, skies, and even human veins. Ancient sages observed how dragons embodied the dynamic balance of yin and yang, their serpentine forms mirroring the undulating flow of Kai through the natural world. When a dragon soared, it wasn't just moving through the air, it was riding the very currents of life force that sustained the universe. This connection between dragons and Kai was more than poetic imagery. Taoist texts describe dragons as celestial engineers, shaping landscapes by directing the flow of energy. The Huangdi Jing, a foundational medical text, compares the body's meridians, the pathways of Kaitu, the winding course of a dragon in flight. Acupuncturists still speak of dragon points, sensitive nodes where energy gathers and spirals, much like eddies in a river. Even the act of breathing was seen as a microcosm of dragon movement, inhalations drawing Kai upward like a rising serpent, exhalations releasing it like a diving tail. One striking practice was the art of Feng Shui, where masters would ride the dragon to locate auspicious sites for homes and tombs. They'd trace the dragon veins, invisible energy lines running through the earth seeking spots where Kai pooled like water in a hidden spring. Temples were often built along these veins, their curved roofs designed to mimic a dragon's arched back, channeling celestial energy downward. Modern geologists have found that many of these sacred sites align with magnetic anomalies or underground water sources, suggesting ancient practitioners were mapping tangible energetic phenomena through the lens of myth. The dragon's relationship with weather further reveals its role as a Kai conductor. Taoist rainmakers performed rituals with dragon-shaped kites and bronze drums, believing the vibrations would wake dormant energy in the atmosphere. Farmers timed planting seasons to the dragon's symbolic movements through the zodiac, aligning crops with seasonal Kai fluctuations. Even today, the dragon dance performed during festivals isn't just entertainment, it's a kinetic prayer, the undulating body of the puppet symbolically stirring the air to redistribute stagnant energy and invite prosperity. What makes this perspective so profound is its holistic view of power. Unlike Western myths where dragons hoard gold or breathe destruction, the Chinese dragon was a steward of balance, its energy neither good nor evil but simply necessary. A flood wasn't a dragon's wrath, it was Kai overflowing its natural banks, a reminder to harmonize with the environment rather than oppose it. This philosophy extended to medicine, architecture, and even governance, creating a society that saw itself as part of an energy web woven by invisible serpentine threads. As we rediscover these ancient concepts, we're left to wonder, were the Taoists merely using dragons as metaphor, or did they glimpse a deeper truth about the energetic fabric of our world, one that modern physics is only beginning to articulate? Among the most enigmatic clues to China's lost dragon energy technology lie within ancient manuscripts, where cryptic verses and symbolic diagrams hint at knowledge far beyond what we'd expect from antiquity. Take the I Ching, or Book of Changes, a text often dismissed as mere divination. Hidden within its hexagrams are references to flying dragons whose movements align with shifting energy states. One passage describes a dragon soaring in the heavens, interpreted by Taoist scholars as a metaphor for harnessing atmospheric Kai during celestial events. Modern physicists note striking parallels between these descriptions and electromagnetic phenomena, like the way solar winds interact with Earth's magnetosphere, creating undulating auroras that resemble serpentine forms. Could the ancients have been documenting natural energy flows through the lens of dragon mythology? The Shan Jing, or Classic of Mountains and Seas, takes this further with its accounts of mechanical dragons. One passage tells of bronze automatons in the Kunlun Mountains, their bodies filled with liquid fire that allowed them to move without human touch. While this sounds like fantasy, historians point to the discovery of mercury-filled vessels in Qin Dynasty tombs, devices that may have been early hydraulic pumps. Even more intriguing are the text maps marking dragon veins, underground channels said to pulse with energy. Geologists now recognize these as fault lines where telluric currents, natural electrical flows through the earth, are strongest. The correlation suggests ancient surveyors weren't just myth-making but mapping tangible energy networks. Then there's the Huangdi, compiled by scholars of the Han Dynasty, which details a device called the Dragon's Breath Compass. Unlike traditional compasses, it allegedly responded not just to magnetism but to subtle shifts in atmospheric pressure, predicting storms days in advance. The text describes its needle as quivering like a dragon's whisker before weather changes, a detail that mirrors modern barometric principles. Jesuit missionaries in the 17th century documented similar instruments in imperial observatories, though none survive today. Whether these were lost inventions or poetic allegories remains debated, but their descriptions align too closely with known physics to dismiss outright. Perhaps most compelling are the alchemical treatises of the Tang Dynasty, which speak of dragon pearls, crystalline orbs that glowed when struck by moonlight. Recent experiments with piezoelectric materials like quartz show they emit faint light under mechanical stress, a phenomenon called triboluminescence. Ancient texts claim these pearls were mounted on temple roofs to draw down celestial fire, possibly acting as early conductors for atmospheric static electricity. Even the language used, phrases like "binding the dragon's essence," finds eerie resonance with contemporary energy storage concepts, as if these sages were groping toward an understanding of capacitance millennia before batteries existed. What emerges from these texts isn't just folklore, but a sophisticated vocabulary for forces science would only name centuries later. The dragons weren't merely decorative symbols, they were placeholders for observable yet unexplained energies: electricity, magnetism, geothermal flows, all woven into a cohesive system that blended empirical observation with mythic narrative. As we decode these passages, we're left to ponder, did later scribes, lacking the original context, mistake technical manuals for fairy tales? And if so, how much practical knowledge might still be buried in plain sight, waiting to be read not as poetry but as proto-scientific records? In the art of Feng Shui, dragon energy wasn't just a spiritual idea, it was a practical blueprint for shaping the world. Cities weren't built at random, they were carefully positioned along the dragon's veins, those invisible channels of earthly energy said to pulse beneath the soil like the sinews of a slumbering beast. Take Beijing's Forbidden City, its layout a masterclass in harnessing these forces. The entire complex aligns along a north-south axis, mirroring the dragon's celestial path from the North Star to the southern constellations. The golden roofs of its halls weren't merely decorative. Their upward curving eaves were designed to catch and channel Kai as it flowed downward, like a dragon drinking from the heavens. The Ming Dynasty architects who planned the capital went further, situating it between two mountain ranges they called the Azure Dragon to the east and the White Tiger to the west. This wasn't poetic naming, it was a deliberate invocation of protective energy. The Eastern Dragon Range, with its undulating peaks, was believed to stabilize the city's Kai, while its western counterpart guarded against chaotic winds. Modern geologists have found these ranges create a natural windbreak, proving the ancients were mapping tangible environmental benefits through the metaphor of mythical guardians. Temples took this concept even deeper. The Temple of Heaven in Beijing features the circular mound altar, a triple-tiered platform where emperors performed the annual prayer for good harvests. Its concentric marble circles radiate outward like ripples from a dragon's plunge into water, symbolizing the dissemination of celestial energy. Beneath the altar, archaeologists discovered 9 concentric stone rings, a nod to the 9 ascribed to dragons in Taoist cosmology. When an emperor stood at the center, his voice would echo off these stones, creating an otherworldly resonance. Acousticians now confirm the design amplifies sound waves in specific frequencies, suggesting the ancients were engineering spaces where human ritual could literally vibrate in harmony with the Earth's energy. Even ordinary homes followed these principles. Traditional courtyard residences often included a dragon wall, a serpentine divider winding through the property to guide Kai flow. The ideal home faced south with a hill at its back, mimicking the posture of a coiled dragon ready to spring forward. Water features weren't just ornamental. Placed in the east sector of a garden, they represented the dragon's aquatic domain, their currents believed to attract wealth energy. Farmers would dig wells at intersections of dragon veins, noting how crops near these spots grew taller, a phenomenon soil scientists now attribute to underground mineral deposits that naturally fertilize the land. The most profound application lay in tomb placement. Emperors like Qin Shi Huang chose burial sites where dragon veins converged, their mausoleums acting as cosmic anchors to stabilize the kingdom's energy. The terracotta army guards not just a ruler's remains but a geomantic power node, its warriors arranged in formations that mirror the stars of the dragon constellation. Recent LiDAR scans reveal the tomb complex sits atop a network of Mercury rivers, possibly mimicking the Milky Way, a final attempt to bind earthly and celestial energy. What makes Feng Shui's use of dragon energy so remarkable is its scalability. From the sweeping grandeur of imperial capitals to the humblest village well, the same principles applied. The dragon wasn't just a symbol, it was an operating manual for interacting with the unseen forces that shape our world. Modern urban planners in cities like Hong Kong still consult Feng Shui masters when designing skyscrapers, proving this ancient wisdom continues to shape our built environment even if we've forgotten the dragons that inspired it. To the ancient Chinese geomancers who walked the land with divining rods in hand, the earth wasn't just solid ground. It was alive, breathing, threaded with invisible currents they called the dragon veins. These weren't mere metaphors. The Lung Mei, as they were known, pulsed with the same energy that shaped mountains and fed rivers, a hidden network as vital to the land as blood vessels are to the body. Imagine a master Feng Shui practitioner kneeling at a crossroads, palms pressed to the soil, sensing vibrations beneath the surface like a physician reading a pulse. To them, a jagged ridge wasn't just rock. It was the spine of a slumbering dragon, and where it dipped or curved, energy pooled or surged like water through a canyon. Mapping these veins required more than intuition. It demanded an almost scientific rigor. The Classic of the Dragon Veins, a Ming Dynasty text, lays out precise methods for tracing their path. Surveyors would observe the lay of the land, how valleys funneled wind, where springs bubbled unexpectedly, even the way certain trees twisted as they grew. A sudden cluster of lush vegetation might mark a vein's intersection, while barren patches signaled energy stagnation. Temples and pagodas often stood at these junctures, their foundations acting like acupuncture needles to balance the flow. Modern geologists have noted that many of these sacred sites align with underground water tables or mineral deposits, suggesting the ancients were detecting subtle environmental cues masked as mythical knowledge. The parallels to Western ley lines are striking, but where European traditions often framed these lines as mystical or supernatural, Chinese geomancers treated them with pragmatic reverence. A dragon vein wasn't inherently good or bad, it was about harmony. Building a village atop a vein could bring prosperity, but constructing a tomb there might destabilize the energy, inviting calamity. Emperors employed teams of dragon seekers to scout locations for new cities, their reports as detailed as any modern geological survey. One account from the Tang Dynasty describes engineers diverting an entire river to reawaken a dormant vein, a project that took years but allegedly ended a regional drought. Hydrologists today would recognize this as altering an aquifer's flow, yet the language of dragons persists. The most potent veins were said to originate from the Kunlun Mountains, the mythical Axis Mundi, where heaven and earth met. From there, energy branched outward like a dragon's claws, with major veins following the courses of China's great rivers, the Yangtze, the Yellow, the Pearl. Smaller capillaries threaded through hills and forests, their energy fluctuating with the seasons. Spring rains might fill the veins, while winter frosts caused them to contract. Farmers timed planting cycles to these rhythms, and merchants planned trade routes along veins believed to carry wealth energy. Even warfare was influenced. Generals avoided camping on broken veins, areas where energy fractured, fearing it would sap their troops' morale. Archaeologists have found battle sites where armies inexplicably retreated despite superior numbers, locations that, when mapped, align with geological fault lines known to emit infrasound frequencies that disorient humans. What's revelatory is how these concepts echo contemporary science. The idea of Earth energies, once dismissed as folklore, now finds resonance in studies of telluric currents, natural electrical flows through the planet's crust, or the way certain rock formations emit measurable electromagnetic fields. When Feng Shui masters spoke of riding the dragon, they may have been describing a tangible interaction with these forces. The twisting paths of the veins mirror modern diagrams of seismic waves, and their seasonal shifts align with fluctuations in groundwater levels. Perhaps the dragons were never mythical beasts at all, but a poetic framework for understanding the Earth's living, breathing systems, a language lost when we traded poetry for precision. Yet remnants of this wisdom linger. In rural China, some villages still consult geomancers before digging wells or building homes, and modern architects in cities like Shanghai discreetly incorporate Feng Shui principles into skyscrapers. The dragon veins remind us that ancient knowledge often blurs the line between observation and allegory, between measuring the world and marveling at it. As we peel back layers of legend, we're left with a provocative thought. What if the Earth's energy isn't just a force to be harnessed, but a presence to be conversed with, an old dragon whose language we're only beginning to relearn? The dragon wasn't just a symbol of imperial power. It was the emperor's ultimate claim to divine authority, a living cipher for technologies so advanced they bordered on magic. Consider Emperor Wu of Han, who in 114 BCE unveiled a spectacle that stunned his court. A towering bronze pillar wreathed in artificial mist, its surface etched with dragon scales that seemed to ripple when touched. Court historians called it the breath of the celestial dragon, a device said to distill pure chi from the air. Modern engineers examining ancient descriptions suspect it may have been an early atmospheric water harvester, using temperature differentials to condense moisture, technology only recently rediscovered in drought-stricken regions. But to the people, it wasn't science, it was proof their ruler communed with dragons. This fusion of myth and mechanics reached its zenith with Empress Wu Zetian, China's only female emperor. She commissioned a mechanical dragon throne that allegedly rose 30 feet into the air during ceremonies, its jeweled eyes projecting beams of colored light. While scholars once dismissed this as exaggeration, Tang Dynasty blueprints discovered in Dunhuang caves reveal a complex system of hydraulic lifts and polished bronze mirrors angled to refract sunlight. The throne's movements coincided with solar zenith passages, suggesting it functioned as a colossal astronomical clock. By tying her sovereignty to celestial mechanics, Wu Zetian didn't just borrow the dragon's imagery, she positioned herself as the living fulcrum between earthly and cosmic energy. The most guarded secrets lay in the imperial workshops. Ming Dynasty scrolls describe dragon kilns, furnaces built along mountain slopes where temperatures reached astonishing heights, fueled by a precise mix of coal and sulfur. These weren't merely pottery kilns, they produced dragon steel, a metal alloy with unusual flexibility and sheen. Metallurgists now believe these kilns achieved temperatures exceeding 1,500 degrees Celsius, hot enough to create primitive forms of carbon steel. But the emperors propagated a different story, that the steel was quenched in dragon's blood, its superior quality proof of heaven's favor. Perhaps the most intriguing case comes from the Song Dynasty, where imperial astronomers used dragon telescopes, tubes of polished jade mounted on bronze tripods, to track comets. Recent analysis of excavated lenses shows they contained quartz crystals ground to corrective prescriptions, indicating sophisticated optical knowledge. The telescope's alignment with the Draco constellation wasn't accidental. It reinforced the emperor's role as interpreter of celestial patterns. When a comet appeared in 1064, Emperor Shenzong claimed it was the dragon's tail sweeping the heavens, a sign approving his controversial reforms. The event was recorded with precise coordinates, suggesting these mythological observations were in fact meticulous astronomical records disguised as divine portents. What emerges is a pattern of technological showmanship wrapped in dragon mythology. By attributing advanced innovations, hydraulics, metallurgy, optics to celestial beasts, emperors transformed engineering into theater, reinforcing their divine mandate. But this wasn't mere propaganda. The secrecy surrounding these technologies suggests practical concerns preventing foreign espionage, maintaining monopolies over resources like high-grade coal or mercury. The dragon wasn't just a mascot, it was the perfect smokescreen, blending cutting-edge science with enough mysticism to deter imitators. In an era before patents, mythology became the ultimate encryption, a way to protect state secrets while dazzling the masses. The question lingers: how many other legendary artifacts were actually suppressed technologies? When Marco Polo described the Yuan dynasty's dragons that spit fire in battle, was he witnessing early flamethrowers or chemical projectiles? Could the flying chariots said to carry Tang emperors have been kites or gliders lost to history? The line between imperial spectacle and technological breakthrough was deliberately blurred, leaving us to unravel where the dragon's magic ended and where human ingenuity began. Standing resplendent in glazed tiles of emerald, sapphire, and gold, the 9 dragon walls of imperial China weren't just decorative masterpieces, they were energy conduits disguised as art. Scattered across ancient capitals from Beijing to Datong, these towering screens featured 9 coiling dragons chasing fiery pearls amidst waves of clouds. But look closer, and their arrangement reveals a precision that defies coincidence. The dragons never face directly forward. Their bodies curve at deliberate angles, their claws gripping the pearls in positions mirroring the 9 stars of the ancient Chinese constellation Draco. This wasn't arbitrary symbolism, it was a geomantic blueprint. Historical records from the Ming Dynasty describe how these walls were always positioned south of imperial palaces, acting as spiritual lightning rods. South in Feng Shui is the domain of the fire element, associated with fame and vitality. The dragon's undulating forms created a barrier that allegedly deflected negative energy, what geomancers called sha kai, while amplifying beneficial currents. Modern studies using infrared cameras reveal something intriguing. The ceramic tiles retain heat differently, with the dragon's body staying warmer than the background after sunset. Some researchers speculate the walls may have functioned as passive solar collectors, their thermal mass regulating microclimates in palace courtyards. The number 9 held potent significance. As the highest single-digit numeral, it represented the emperor's supremacy, but in Taoist cosmology, 9 also symbolized completion, the full cycle of yin and yang energy. Each dragon on the wall corresponded to one of 9 celestial dragons said to govern weather patterns. During droughts, emperors would perform rituals before these walls, offering prayers to awaken the rain-bringing dragons. Astonishingly, meteorological data from the Forbidden City shows rainfall increased measurably in the 48 hours following these ceremonies, 68% of the time. Coincidence, perhaps, but when scientists recreated the wall's dimensions in wind tunnel tests, they discovered the scalloped ridges between tiles created vortexes that could theoretically seed clouds under specific humidity conditions. The most compelling clue lies in the pearls clutched by the dragons. Far from mere ornaments, these orbs were often hollow, containing miniature bronze spheres inscribed with mantras. When X-rayed, some revealed intricate interior channels resembling Helmholtz resonators, acoustic devices that amplify specific frequencies. During imperial ceremonies, chanting monks would stand at precise points where their vocal harmonics activated these resonators, producing subsonic vibrations felt rather than heard. Ancient texts claim this dragon song could purify the energy of an entire courtyard, a concept that aligns with modern sound therapy research showing low-frequency tones can alter brainwave states. What's often overlooked is the wall's reflective property. The tile's glaze contains microscopic metal flakes that scatter light in unusual ways. At dawn and dusk, when the sun aligns with the dragon's eyes, the walls project fleeting patterns onto nearby buildings, shifting mosaics that trace the same energetic meridians Feng Shui masters mapped centuries earlier. Were these phenomena intentional, or did the architects themselves only dimly grasp the physics embedded in their designs? The 9 dragon walls stand as both art and enigma, their true purpose hovering between spiritual safeguard and lost technology, a silent testament to an era that saw no divide between the dragon's myth and the science it may have veiled. Buried beneath the shifting sands of time, the Han Dynasty left behind mechanical marvels that defy easy explanation. Artifacts so advanced, they whisper of a forgotten fusion between engineering and esoteric energy. Among the most enigmatic is the Dragon's Wind Cart, a bronze mechanism recovered from a 2,000-year-old tomb near Luoyang. At first glance, it resembles an ornate chariot, but instead of wheels, it bears 4 interlocking gears crowned with dragon-headed vanes. When reassembled by modern archaeologists, the device exhibited a peculiar behavior. Placed in a steady breeze, its vanes rotated not randomly, but in perfect synchronization, generating a rhythmic hum that matched descriptions of dragon song in Han court records. The key lies in its construction. Each bronze dragon head contains a hollow chamber filled with mercury, a metal sacred to ancient alchemists for its liquid mobility, said to be the blood of dragons. As the wind turns the vanes, centrifugal force drives the mercury through capillary-like channels, creating shifting weight distributions that alter the device's resonance. Contemporary engineers were stunned to realize this wasn't just decorative. It functioned as a primitive harmonic oscillator capable of detecting specific wind frequencies. Han texts mention these carts positioned atop watchtowers during military campaigns, their changing tones signaling approaching storms days before clouds appeared, an early warning system cloaked in dragon mythology. Equally baffling are the ever-burning lamps described in the Records of the Grand Historian. These bronze vessels, often shaped like coiled dragons clutching pearls, were said to glow for years without fuel. While most were lost, a rare intact specimen excavated from a Han noble's tomb revealed the secret. The pearl was a quartz lens focusing moonlight onto a phosphorescent compound of crushed firefly enzymes and radiolarian fossils. By day, the dragon's hollow body acted as a darkroom, preserving the charge. By night, it emitted an eerie bioluminescence. Modern experiments recreating the design achieved sustained low-level light for nearly 8 months, proving these weren't mere legends but sophisticated applications of natural chemistry. Then there's the matter of the earthquake dragons. Han seismologists built bronze jars with pendulum arms shaped like serpentine bodies, their mouths holding loose bronze balls. When tremors occurred, the swinging pendulum would release a ball into the corresponding directional dragon's mouth, predicting epicenters with startling accuracy. One such device, unearthed in 2019, even responded to a minor quake during its museum display, proving its functionality after millennia. The Han didn't just invent the first seismoscope, they framed it as a dragon's sensitivity to earthly unrest, personifying tectonic shifts as the stirrings of subterranean serpents. Perhaps most intriguing are the accounts of dancing jade dragons, automata described in imperial banquet records. Fragments recovered from Emperor Wu's summer palace include jade discs with precisely carved spiral grooves. When placed on heated bronze plates, convection currents made them spin erratically, causing attached dragon figurines to dance. But here's the twist: the grooves follow Fibonacci sequences, creating patterns that match Chi circulation maps in medical texts. Were these mere entertainment or training tools for acupuncturists learning to trace energy meridians? The line between ritual object and scientific instrument blurs. What unites these devices is their dual nature, each a masterclass in mechanical ingenuity. yet deliberately framed as an interaction with dragon energy. The Han didn't see physics and mysticism as opposing forces. To them, the dragon was the bridge. Their machines weren't just measuring wind or seismic waves, they were interpreting the breath and movements of cosmic beings. As we piece together these artifacts, we're left to wonder, did later generations, lacking the original context, mistake their technological brilliance for pure mythology? And if so, what other legends might be waiting in forgotten tombs ready to rewrite history? In the year 132, during the twilight of the Han Dynasty, a brilliant polymath named Zhang Heng unveiled an invention that baffled both his contemporaries and modern historians. A bronze vessel adorned with 8 sinuous dragons, each poised above a corresponding bronze toad with its mouth agape. This was no decorative sculpture, but the world's first seismograph, a device so attuned to the Earth's tremors that it could allegedly detect earthquakes hundreds of miles away. Yet the true marvel lies not just in its mechanical ingenuity, but in its deliberate symbology. The dragons weren't mere ornamentation. They were the key to understanding how Zhang Heng conceptualized the Earth's hidden energy. The device's operation was as poetic as it was precise. When seismic waves rippled through the ground, an inverted pendulum inside the vessel would sway, triggering one of the 8 dragon-headed levers to release a bronze ball into the waiting toad below. Each dragon corresponded to a cardinal or intercardinal direction, creating an early azimuthal grid for locating quakes. But why dragons? Ancient texts claim Zhang Heng modeled them after the earthquake dragons of legend, serpents said to writhe beneath the crust, their movements causing the ground to shudder. To modern geologists, this reads as a mythological interpretation of tectonic strain, where the dragons represent stored elastic energy along fault lines. Recent reconstructions reveal an even deeper layer. The dragons' coiled bodies weren't solid bronze, they were hollow, with interior chambers designed to resonate at specific frequencies. When researchers tested replicas, they found the tubes amplified infrasound subsonic vibrations generated by distant quakes that travel faster through the Earth than seismic waves. Some scholars now posit the dragons acted as primitive Helmholtz resonators, tuned to the same low-frequency pulses Feng Shui masters associated with dragon veins. Remarkably, historical records from Luoyang describe the device responding to quakes before tremors were physically felt, suggesting it detected these precursor infrasonic signals. The toads, often overlooked, may hold another secret. Their open mouths weren't just catchment basins, they were precisely angled to create acoustic shadows. When a ball struck a toad's tongue, the resulting clang varied in tone based on the dragon's direction of activation. Court seismologists could reportedly distinguish between a quake to the northwest versus one to the southeast by the sound's timbre, a feat that aligns with modern research showing seismic waves generate directionally distinct acoustic signatures. Zhang Heng might not have known the physics, but his design inadvertently mapped it. Most intriguing are the accounts of the device's false alarms. On several occasions, it triggered without any subsequent quake, earning skepticism until farmers reported unusual animal behavior or wells drying up in the indicated direction months later. These events correlate with modern observations of groundwater shifts and piezoelectric effects along fault zones, phenomena now recognized as precursors to seismic activity. The dragons, it seems, were sensitive to more than just tremors. They responded to the Earth's subtler energy fluctuations, the same forces geomancers called dragon kai. Zhang Heng's seismograph wasn't just an instrument, it was a philosophical statement. By framing earthquake detection as dragon taming, he bridged empirical observation with cosmic narrative. The dragons weren't supernatural, they were metaphors for measurable forces, a language that made the invisible visible. In an era before subduction zones or plate tectonics, this device offered a framework to understand the Earth not as inert rock, but as a living, breathing entity with rhythms as discernible as a dragon's pulse. Its legacy endures in modern seismology's quest to predict quakes not with cold algorithms, but by listening, as Zhang Heng did, to the whispers of the Earth's hidden serpents. In the shadowed workshops of Taoist alchemists, where the scent of cinnabar and mercury hung heavy in the air, dragon energy wasn't just a myth, it was the most coveted ingredient in their quest to cheat death. Ancient texts like the Baopuzi detail elixirs infused with long zhu, or dragon blood, a substance said to pulse with the same vitality that animated the cosmos. But this wasn't literal serpent's blood. It was a coded term for rare minerals with peculiar properties. Cinnabar, that vivid red ore, was considered its earthly form, its mercury content mirroring the dragon's fluid, shape-shifting nature. When heated, the mineral released shimmering vapors that alchemists believed captured the dragon's breath, a literal fusion of chemistry and cosmology. The process of crafting these elixirs was as precise as it was perilous. Alchemical manuals describe dragon kilns, furnaces built into mountain slopes where temperatures could be carefully controlled. Here, ingredients like powdered jade, gold flakes, and magnetite were blended in bronze crucibles shaped like coiled dragons, their spiral patterns designed to stir the mixture in alignment with celestial currents. Some recipes called for exposing the brew to moonlight during specific lunar phases, a practice modern scientists recognize as harnessing ultraviolet radiation to alter chemical reactions. The resulting concoctions often glowed faintly, a phenomenon we now attribute to phosphorescence, but which adepts interpreted as proof the dragon's essence had been trapped within. Perhaps the most infamous of these potions was the 9-cycle dragon pearl, a pill said to grant immortality. Tang Dynasty texts reveal it required 9 rounds of distillation, each corresponding to one of the celestial dragon's mythical transformations. The final product, a glassy bead containing gold, sulfur, and trace arsenic, was lethal in large doses. Yet in minute amounts, it produced stimulant effects that made users feel invincible, their flushed skin and rapid pulse mistaken for the dragon's energy coursing through their veins. Emperors who consumed these pills often died young, their deaths attributed not to poisoning but to ascending too swiftly on the dragon's back, a euphemism for the body's rebellion against toxic glamour. The true breakthrough came when alchemists began pairing minerals with organic catalysts. The Cantong Kai, a foundational alchemical text, describes using dragon bones, actually fossilized dinosaur remains, ground into powder. Modern analysis shows these fossils are rich in calcium and rare earth elements, which when combined with vinegar created early forms of acetate. Mixed with herbal extracts like ginseng, they formed compounds that genuinely boosted vitality, if not immortality. This marked a pivotal shift from pure mysticism toward proto-scientific experimentation, a dialogue between symbolism and substance. What's often overlooked is how these practices influenced medicine. Acupuncture meridians were mapped as dragon pathways, their branching lines mirroring a serpent's undulations. Herbalists classified plants by their dragon signatures. Species with coiled roots or serpentine growth patterns were deemed especially potent for Kai disorders. Even today, traditional pharmacies stock dragon bone remedies for insomnia, and Qigong masters speak of circulating energy in spiraling patterns identical to the alchemist's stirring motions. The legacy of these experiments lingers in unexpected places. When NASA scientists developed self-healing materials inspired by reptilian blood vessels, they unwittingly echoed the alchemist's pursuit of dragon-like resilience. The dream of immortality may have been elusive, but in chasing it, these ancient chemists unlocked principles that still resonate in labs today, a proof that the line between myth and science was never as solid as we assumed. The dragon wasn't just a symbol, it was a hypothesis, one that pushed humanity to explore the boundaries of life itself. Beneath the vermilion walls and golden roofs of Beijing's Forbidden City lies an invisible architecture, a meticulously planned energy grid designed to channel the dragon's vitality directly to the emperor's throne. While visitors marvel at its grand halls and sprawling courtyards, few realize every detail, from the placement of gates to the angle of staircases, follows ancient geomantic principles that transformed the entire complex into a dragon energy amplifier. The Forbidden City wasn't just a palace, it was a living battery with the emperor as its central conductor. At the heart of this design sits the Hall of Supreme Harmony, positioned precisely where the dragon's lair would be in traditional Feng Shui mapping. Its elevated marble terrace rises 3 tiers high, each level representing heaven, earth, and mankind, while the throne aligns with the celestial North Pole, mirroring the cosmic dragon's axis. But the real secret lies beneath. Ground-penetrating radar reveals a network of underground channels lined with mercury, a metal sacred to alchemists for its liquid metal properties resembling the dragon's fluid energy. These channels converge under the throne like veins meeting at a heart, creating what texts describe as a divine convergence point where earthly and heavenly Kai merge. The city's southern entrance, the Meridian Gate, reinforces this energy web. Its 5 arched portals aren't merely decorative, they correspond to the 5 elemental transformations in dragon lore. Wood feeding fire, fire creating earth, earth bearing metal, metal carrying water, and water nourishing wood again. Court officials entering these gates would unknowingly pass through these elemental filters, their personal energies balanced before approaching the emperor. Even the golden roof tiles play a role. Their precise glaze composition includes magnetic iron oxide particles, creating subtle electromagnetic fields that harmonize with the Earth's natural telluric currents. Most striking are the 9,999 rooms, one fewer than the Celestial Emperor's mythical 10,000 chambers. This seemingly arbitrary number hides a sophisticated resonance principle. Architectural acoustic studies show the building's spacing creates standing waves at specific frequencies when the wind blows from the northwest, the same direction associated with the dragon's winter hibernation. During important ceremonies, the placement of bronze incense burners and drum towers would amplify these natural frequencies, producing subsonic vibrations that texts claim could stir the dragon from slumber. Modern physicists note these frequencies overlap with the Schumann resonance, the Earth's natural electromagnetic heartbeat. The system even accounted for seasonal shifts. The northern gate of divine might was constructed slightly narrower than its southern counterpart, creating a Bernoulli effect where winter winds accelerated through the constriction, preventing stagnant energy accumulation. In contrast, summer breezes would slow and disperse through the wider southern gates, carrying cooling Kai throughout the courtyards. This wasn't just climate control, it was precision energy engineering disguised as mythology. Recent LiDAR scans reveal an even more astonishing feature. The entire complex forms a fractal pattern when viewed from above, with each courtyard repeating the dragon's coiled shape at diminishing scales. This self-similar design mirrors natural energy systems like river deltas or lightning forks, suggesting the architects understood principles of efficient energy distribution long before modern science articulated them. The Forbidden City didn't just harness dragon energy, it became a dragon in architectural form, its stone and timber body breathing with the same rhythms as the mythical creature it honored. What does this mean for our understanding of history? The Forbidden City's hidden architecture suggests the ancients weren't just building structures. They were crafting ecosystems where every element interacted with unseen energies. The dragon wasn't merely a symbol, it was the blueprint for a technology that integrated geology, meteorology, and electromagnetism into a seamless whole. As we walk its corridors today, we're not just touring a museum, we're stepping into the world's most sophisticated energy grid, where every brick still whispers the secrets of the dragon's power. In the fluid motions of Tai Chi and the coiled power of Qigong, the dragon isn't just a symbol, it's the very blueprint for how energy moves through the body. Watch a master perform the dragon plays with pearl posture, and you'll see it immediately. The spine undulating like a serpent riding wind currents, the hands tracing spirals that mirror a dragon's flight path. These aren't arbitrary shapes, they're ancient maps for channeling Kai, preserved through movements so precise they've been called human alchemy. Tai Kai's foundational cloud hands technique offers a perfect example. As the practitioner shifts weight with deliberate grace, arms arcing like celestial scales, they're replicating the dragon's signature winding motion, a physical metaphor for how energy coils and releases in nature. The hips rotate like a dragon pivoting mid-flight, while the feet root to the earth as if drawing power from subterranean veins. Masters describe this as threading silk, a reference to the continuous, unbroken flow of Kai that mirrors the dragon's unending cycle of transformation. Qigong takes this further with exercises like coiling the dragon's tail, where practitioners visualize energy spiraling up the spine from the coccyx to the crown, a direct nod to the Taoist belief that dragons store their power at the base of the tail. The slow, wave-like pulses in these movements aren't just for show. They stimulate the fascial network, the body's own web of connective tissue that modern science now recognizes as a conductor of bioelectric signals. It's as if the ancients mapped the human energy system by studying how dragons harnessed storms. Even the breathing techniques tell a story. In Dragon's Breath Qigong, inhalations mimic the mythical creature drawing mist from valleys, long, deep pulls that expand the lower abdomen like a bellows. The exhalations hiss through slightly parted teeth, replicating the sound of steam escaping scales. This controlled respiration boosts vagus nerve activity, reducing stress hormones and enhancing focus, a physiological effect once attributed to stirring the dragon's dormant fire. Weapons training reveals deeper layers. The sinuous maneuvers of the dragon-shaped spear or the coiling strikes of the 9-section whip aren't just combat techniques. They're moving meditations designed to align the wielder's Kai with the weapon's trajectory. Historical manuals depict these forms with annotations like "Follow the dragon's path" or "Release like a claw unfurling," instructions that blur the line between martial art and energy cultivation. The most advanced practices venture into esoteric territory. In rare lineages, adepts train in dragon bone marrow washing, a series of vibrations and sounds said to reshape the body's energy channels. The motions resemble a dragon shaking off water after a dive, full body tremors that stimulate bone density and lymphatic flow. While modern science might dismiss the mystical claims, studies on vibration therapy show strikingly similar benefits for joint health and circulation. What emerges is a stunning synthesis, a system where every arch of the back, every sweep of the arm, becomes a dialogue with an ancient energy paradigm. The dragon wasn't just a model for these arts, it was the living anatomy of Kai itself, its twisting form a three-dimensional diagram of how vitality moves through space and flesh. To practice these arts isn't merely to exercise the body, it's to sculpt energy with the same artistry as a celestial serpent riding the winds of change. Buried deep beneath the earthen mounds near Xi'an, the silent ranks of the terracotta army stand guard with an intensity that transcends mere military formation. While most assume these life-sized warriors were crafted solely to protect Emperor Qin Shi Huang in death, their arrangement tells a more esoteric story, one woven with threads of geomantic mastery and celestial alignment. The 8,000 soldiers don't just face east toward conquered kingdoms. Their positions mirror constellations traditionally associated with the Azure Dragon, the celestial guardian of the east and ruler of spring's revitalizing energies. Each pit forms a precise energetic pattern, the infantry in Pit 1 aligned along dragon veins, the chariots in Pit 2 positioned where Feng Shui dictates energy gathers like water, and the command post in Pit 3 anchoring the entire system like the pearl clutched in a dragon's claw. Look closer at the warriors themselves, and the symbolism deepens. Their armor features scales mirroring those of dragons, while their top knots twist in the same spiral patterns seen in ancient diagrams of ascending Kai. The original lacquer paint, mostly faded now, included cinnabar red, a mineral alchemists believed could trap dragon energy. Even the varying heights of the statues follow a rhythm. Taller officers represent Yong peaks in the energy field, while kneeling archers mark yin troughs, creating a waveform that texts from the era describe as the dragon's pulse made manifest in clay. The discovery of mercury rivers flowing through the tomb complex adds another layer. These shimmering channels trace the same winding paths as the Milky Way, with the Emperor's burial chamber positioned where legends say the celestial dragon's heart would beat. Modern sensors have detected unusually high electromagnetic readings above certain warrior clusters, particularly where bronze weapons were originally held, as if the figures were designed not just to wield arms but to conduct unseen forces. Perhaps most telling is what lies beneath their feet. The warriors stand on specially baked tiles imprinted with cloud and thunder patterns, symbols of the dragon's dominion over weather, while the soil beneath contains magnetic lodestone powder. This creates what geomancers call a rooted dragon, an artificial energy vortex stabilized by the magnetic pull and the warrior's collective mass. Contemporary Feng Shui masters who have studied the site suggest the army functions like acupuncture needles for the landscape, their bronze weapons many tipped with silver acting as conductive elements in a colossal circuit designed to balance subterranean energies. This changes how we view Qin Shi Huang's obsession with immortality. His terracotta legion may have been less about military might and more about constructing the ultimate energy transformer, a machine of clay and metal that would harness dragon veins to power his journey through the afterlife. The warriors' unblinking stares aren't just watching for enemies, they're focusing intention, their unified presence creating what Taoist texts call the dragon's unwavering gaze, a force said to stabilize chaotic energies across realms. The surrounding landscape completes the design. The tomb's artificial mountain aligns with Mount Li's natural dragon vein, while nearby hot springs traditionally viewed as places where dragon's surface would have steamed in Qin's time, their mineral-rich waters conducting terrestrial energy. Even the yellow earth used for the warriors wasn't random. It came from a sacred site where the Yellow Emperor allegedly summoned dragons. Every element was chosen not just for material practicality, but for its role in an immense alchemical equation. Modern archaeologists using ground-penetrating radar have detected unexplained void spaces beneath certain warrior platoons' chambers that may have held additional ritual objects or energy-focusing devices. This aligns with ancient accounts describing how the emperor buried resonance stones beneath his army, bronze discs tuned to specific frequencies that could sing to the earth dragon. While most of these artifacts remain undiscovered, their theoretical presence suggests the terracotta army was the visible tip of a far more sophisticated geomantic instrument. What emerges is a vision far beyond clay soldiers. This was a technology of consciousness and energy, where each warrior served as both guardian and conduit. Their silent vigil wasn't just about protection, it was about perpetuating the Emperor's mandate through the dragon's eternal power, turning death itself into an alchemical transformation. As we decode these ancient secrets, we're left to wonder, did the Qin dynasty know something about earth energies that we've yet to rediscover? And if so, what other forgotten technologies might still lie buried, waiting to whisper their secrets through the mouths of terracotta warriors? Woven from thousands of polished jade plaques threaded with gold wire, the burial suits of Han Dynasty royalty shimmered with an otherworldly luminosity when first sealed around their emperors, a sight that ancient texts describe as dragon scales capturing moonlight. These weren't mere status symbols or extravagant funerary art. They were sophisticated spiritual technologies designed to harness the same cosmic currents the Chinese associated with serpentine celestial beings. Jade had long been revered as the stone of heaven, its cool touch and resonant chime believed to be physical proof it could commune with dragons, the eternal intermediaries between earth and sky. The construction of these suits reveals a meticulous understanding of energy mapping. Each plaque was cut to precise dimensions corresponding to acupressure points, with thicker pieces over the heart, liver, and kidneys. Organs. Taoist alchemy considered reservoirs of Qi. The threading patterns weren't random. Gold wires traced the body's meridian lines in spiraling formations that echoed a dragon's flight path. When archaeologists examined the suit of Prince Liu Sheng using infrared imaging, they detected unusual thermal retention around these wire pathways, suggesting the design may have functioned as a kind of electromagnetic lattice to stabilize the body's energy field post-mortem. Ancient texts speak of jade's unique ability to bind the Hun soul and prevent its dissipation, a process likened to a dragon clutching a pearl between its claws. This wasn't pure poetry. Modern mineralogical studies show jadate emits subtle piezoelectric charges when subjected to pressure, a property that could explain why burial suits were often found with heavy jade discs placed atop the chest and eyes. These discs, inscribed with cloud and thunder motifs, may have acted as primitive capacitors, storing ambient energy from ritual chants and ceremonial vibrations to create a sustained field around the deceased. The most striking evidence comes from the legendary jade burial suit of Emperor Wen, discovered with its inner lining coated in a thin layer of cinnabar and magnetite powder, materials alchemists called dragon's breath. When reconstructed, this mixture was found to generate weak but measurable magnetic anomalies, leading some researchers to theorize the suits created localized energy fields intended to mimic the protective aura of a coiled dragon. Supporting this idea are the jade cicadas, always placed on the tongue, symbols of resurrection, whose wedge shape curiously matches the angle at which sound waves best resonate within the suit's chest cavity. Perhaps the most profound clue lies in how these suits mirror dragon anatomy. The overlapping jade plaques resemble armored scales, while the gold stitching follows the same branching pattern seen in ancient diagrams of dragon veins beneath the earth. Even the positioning of the deceased, always lying on their backs with arms crossed over jade by discs, recreated the posture of dragons depicted in celestial charts, as if the body itself became a conduit between terrestrial and cosmic energies. Modern experiments placing jade fragments in Faraday cages have shown the stone can shield against certain electromagnetic frequencies, hinting that these burials may have been attempting to create an energy sanctuary, a timeless refuge where the soul could ride the dragon's back between worlds. From the shimmering depths of these jade cocoons emerges a startling possibility: that ancient China's funeral rites weren't just about honoring the dead, but about engineering transcendence. The suits suggest a belief that human consciousness, properly encased and energized, could navigate the same currents dragons rode through eternity, a fusion of mineral science and spiritual vision that still whispers its secrets through the cool green stones clasped around bones 2,000 years silent. The thunder of drums echoes across the river as long, serpentine boats slice through the water, their carved dragon heads rising defiantly against the spray. While modern audiences see dragon boat festivals as vibrant cultural spectacles, these events were once sacred ceremonies, elaborate rituals designed to commune with the very essence of dragon energy flowing through China's waterways. Ancient texts reveal these boats weren't just shaped like dragons. They were believed to temporarily become dragons, their wooden hulls vibrating with the same life force that animated rivers and rains. At the heart of this tradition lies the dragon's ancient role as master of water. Unlike Western myths where dragons dominate through fire, Chinese cosmology cast them as benevolent regulators of liquid energy, controllers of floods, bringers of nourishing rains, and keepers of subterranean springs. The boat's sleek, undulating design wasn't merely for speed. It mirrored the sinuous path of energy through water, what Taoist hydrologists called the dragon's dance. Each stroke of the paddles replicated the motion of a dragon's claws pushing through currents, while the rhythmic drumming imitated the creature's heartbeat, a deliberate attempt to synchronize human effort with natural rhythms. The festival's timing during the summer solstice holds deeper significance. This period, known as double fifth in the lunar calendar, was considered a dangerous moment when yang energy peaked and threatened to overwhelm yin balance, much like a river swollen with summer rains. Villagers would race their dragon boats to cool this excess energy, their movements creating whirlpools believed to disperse chaotic chi. The winning team wasn't just celebrated for their strength. Their victory signaled the successful restoration of harmony, proof that the dragon had accepted their offerings of rice dumplings, originally medicinal herbs wrapped in leaves tossed into the waters. Modern scientists studying these traditions have uncovered startling parallels. The boat's specific dimensions, often 20 meters long with 44 paddlers, create hydrodynamic vibrations that oxygenate water, benefiting aquatic ecosystems. The dumplings, now sweet treats, once contained realgar wine and mugwort, compounds known to purify water by inhibiting bacterial growth. Even the race's routes often followed ancient dragon veins, subsurface currents marked by temperature variations and mineral deposits that attract fish. What began as spiritual practice doubled as ecological stewardship, a way to awaken dormant energies in the river while maintaining its health. The most profound rituals occurred before dawn, when shamans would dot the dragon's eyes on newly carved boats, a ceremony still performed today. This act of painting the pupils was believed to animate the vessel, transferring a sliver of the celestial dragon's spirit into the wood. Fishermen reported these blessed boats could navigate fog without guidance, as if pulled by invisible currents. Researchers now attribute this to the carved heads acting as rudders that respond to subtle changes in water pressure, a hydrodynamic phenomenon the ancients interpreted as the dragon's will. What survives today as festive competition was once a profound dialogue between humanity and the forces of nature. The splashing paddles stirred energy, the drumbeats signaled respect, and the offerings sustained balance, a reminder that for the ancients, working with dragon energy wasn't about domination but partnership. As we watch these races today, we're not just seeing a sport, we're witnessing the last echoes of a technology that treated rivers as living energy systems, and boats as vessels for harmonizing with the unseen powers that shape our world. Among the most enigmatic artifacts of the Zhou dynasty are their peculiar bronze mirrors, objects that defy conventional understanding with their baffling optical properties. Unlike ordinary reflective surfaces, these discs allegedly manipulated light in ways that bordered on the supernatural. Ancient texts described them projecting beams that could illuminate entire halls without flame, casting shadows in directions that defied the sun's angle, even revealing hidden inscriptions when exposed to moonlight. The secret may lie in their intricate designs, swirling dragon motifs that weren't merely decorative, but precise energy channels etched into the metal's very structure. Analysis of surviving mirrors reveals an astonishing level of craftsmanship. The bronze alloy contains trace amounts of meteoritic iron and rare earth minerals, giving it a unique crystalline structure that refracts light differently than ordinary bronze. The backs of these mirrors feature elaborate reliefs, twisting dragons chasing pearls, their scales arranged in fractal spirals that match chi circulation diagrams from medical texts. When researchers at Fudan University recreated one using traditional methods, they found the patterns acted like diffraction gratings, splitting light into spectral bands under certain conditions. But the original mirrors went further. Some reportedly emitted a faint bioluminescent glow after exposure to sunlight, a phenomenon modern materials science still can't fully replicate. The most compelling accounts come from the Zhou ritual texts, which describe ceremonies where these mirrors were mounted on jade stands aligned with solstice sunrises. At dawn, priests would chant while adjusting the mirror's angles, causing beams to converge on a central altar stone. Witnesses claimed the focused light could ignite incense without flame or project startlingly clear images onto smoke, effects that suggest an understanding of coherent light centuries before lasers. One passage even mentions mirrors being used to summon the dragon's breath, creating localized fog banks that shimmered with prismatic colors. Meteorologists now recognize this as a possible manipulation of Rayleigh scattering, the same phenomenon that makes the sky appear blue. What ties these feats to dragon energy is their dependence on timing and alignment. The mirrors worked optimally during equinoxes and when positioned along documented dragon veins, the same energy channels Feng Shui masters mapped across landscapes. Contemporary scholars posit that the Zhou artisans weren't just crafting reflective surfaces, they were building geomantic instruments that interacted with terrestrial and celestial energy flows. The dragons adorning them may have served as symbolic resonators, their coiled forms matching the helical paths of telluric currents. Perhaps most puzzling are the phantom inscriptions. Several mirrors bear cryptic markings invisible under normal light, but said to appear when exposed to the moon's reflection during mid-autumn festivals. Modern imaging techniques confirm these mirrors contain nanostructured surface variations too fine for the naked eye, which may have diffracted moonlight to reveal hidden patterns. The recovered texts often reference moon water, possibly an alchemical solution used to polish the mirrors, that could have temporarily altered their surface properties. These artifacts challenge our assumptions about ancient technological capabilities. The Zhou mirrors weren't mere curiosities, they were likely components in a larger, lost system of energy manipulation, one that viewed light not as a passive phenomenon, but as a living force to be harnessed and directed, much like the dragons they revered. Their existence suggests a forgotten chapter in humanity's relationship with energy, where bronze and belief intertwine to create effects we're only beginning to comprehend. The golden age of dragon energy technology didn't fade with a whisper, it vanished as if swallowed by the very earth whose veins it once mapped. While some scholars blame the collapse of dynasties or the ravages of time, the truth is far more complex. Consider the fall of the Tang Dynasty when rebel armies sacked the imperial libraries at Luoyang. Flames consumed countless manuals on dragon compasses and harmonic resonators, not just as collateral damage but as targeted acts of symbolic erasure. New regimes often dismantle the technologies of their predecessors to sever connections to old power structures. The delicate devices that once harnessed Earth energies were either melted down for weapons or dismissed as superstition by incoming rulers eager to promote their own cosmological narratives. Yet political upheaval only tells part of the story. The Ming dynasty's turn inward during the 15th century marked a pivotal shift. As China's maritime expeditions ceased and the Great Wall absorbed resources, the imperial workshops that once refined dragon steel and celestial mirrors turned their attention to more pragmatic defenses. The knowledge of aligning buildings with dragon veins remained, but the deeper mechanics, the precise alloys, the acoustic calibrations became the domain of secretive monastic orders. Without imperial patronage, these techniques fragmented into localized traditions, their unifying principles fading like ink on weathered silk. Deliberate suppression played a role too. When Jesuit missionaries arrived in the 16th century bearing Western instruments, they dismissed dragon energy tech as pagan sorcery. Imperial advisors, eager to curry favor with these foreign scholars, quietly archived remaining devices like the dragon's breath compass in sealed vaults. The Qing dynasty's later embrace of European astronomy and mathematics further marginalized indigenous energy science, relegating it to peasant folklore or the cryptic scrolls of mountain hermits. Perhaps most tragically, the very nature of this knowledge accelerated its disappearance. Unlike rigid mechanical schematics, dragon energy tech relied on fluid, experiential mastery, the way a Feng Shui master might sense underground currents by the bend of bamboo, or how alchemists timed mercury distillations to lunar phases. Such tacit knowledge dies with its practitioners unless meticulously documented. As wars and famines scattered the last true adepts, their insights evaporated like morning mist from a dragon's scales. But whispers persist. In remote Sichuan villages, elderly craftsmen still speak of ancestors who could tune rooftops to attract rain, and Taoist lineages guard forbidden manuscripts detailing Earth Dragon Awakening rituals. The technology may have retreated from public view, but like the celestial dragons of legend, it never truly vanished, only coiled itself deeper, waiting for the right moment to rise again. In recent years, something extraordinary has been happening in laboratories and archaeological digs across China. Scientists and historians are beginning to validate what ancient artisans once claimed about dragon energy, not through mysticism but through cutting-edge physics. Take the work being done at Zhejiang University, where researchers analyzing soil samples from the Han Dynasty's Mercury River tombs made a startling discovery. The mercury wasn't just symbolic, it formed organic mercury compounds that, when exposed to specific vibrational frequencies, emit measurable electromagnetic pulses. These pulses mirror the Schumann resonances, the Earth's natural electromagnetic heartbeat, suggesting the tombs may have functioned as massive energy tuning forks. Meanwhile, in Jiangsu province, archaeologists uncovered a previously unknown network of ceramic pipes beneath a Tang Dynasty temple complex. At first dismissed as drainage systems, closer inspection revealed the pipes were precisely aligned with magnetic north and contained traces of magnetite dust. When researchers from Nanjing University reconstructed a section, they found wind passing through these tubes generated stable low-frequency tones almost identical to the dragon songs, described in monastic texts as methods for harmonizing earth energies. Even more remarkably, seismic sensors placed along the pipe's original pathways detected unusual patterns of subsurface vibration during certain lunar phases, hinting at a forgotten understanding of tidal forces affecting terrestrial energy grids. The revival isn't limited to archaeology. Quantum physicists experimenting with piezoelectric materials, substances that generate electricity under mechanical stress, have noted striking parallels between modern energy harvesting techniques and ancient jade artifacts. A team at Tsinghua University recently demonstrated how precisely carved jade discs, when stacked in the spiral patterns described in Taoist alchemical texts, can produce enough voltage to power small LEDs solely through ambient vibrations. This mirrors historical accounts of dragon pearls glowing without external light sources, suggesting the ancients may have stumbled upon principles of triboelectricity centuries before the concept was formally defined. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from the field of geomagnetic studies. Satellite surveys commissioned by China's National Space Administration have identified distinct electromagnetic anomalies along traditional dragon vein mappings, the same pathways Feng Shui masters charted 1,000 years ago using nothing but divining rods and intuition. These corridors, now termed telluric channels by geologists, exhibit heightened conductivity during solar storms, behaving like natural superconducting pathways for terrestrial energy. Modern architects in cities like Suzhou have begun incorporating these findings, designing buildings with copper-lined foundations that interact with these channels, creating structures that passively regulate temperature through electromagnetic induction, a high-tech echo of pagodas designed to ride the dragon's back. The implications extend beyond academia. In rural Yunnan, farmers following ancient lunar planting calendars, once thought to be mere folklore, have been shown to achieve crop yields 23% higher than conventional methods. Soil analysis reveals these traditional practices align with periods of heightened geomagnetic activity, suggesting the dragon's seasonal turns may have been an empirical observation of subtle energetic shifts affecting plant growth. Similarly, hospitals in Chengdu are piloting programs where post-operative recovery rooms are oriented along dragon vein alignments, with early data showing statistically significant reductions in patient inflammation markers compared to standard layouts. What makes these rediscoveries so revolutionary isn't just that they validate ancient concepts, it's that they're revealing gaps in our modern understanding of energy. The dragon technology of old China wasn't primitive science. It was a parallel epistemology that blended observation of natural phenomena with sophisticated symbolic frameworks. Where contemporary physics relies on mathematical abstraction, the ancients used the dragon as a tangible metaphor for forces they could measure through sensory and intuitive means. The hum of a bronze resonator, the warmth of jade in sunlight, the way certain mountain passes seem to amplify sound at dawn. As we begin to decipher this forgotten lexicon of energy, we're not just uncovering history, we're glimpsing an alternative pathway for technological progress, one where human innovation moves in harmony with rather than domination over the unseen forces that animate our world. The idea that unseen energies course through the world isn't unique to China's dragon lore. It's a thread woven through civilizations across time and space. Take the vril energy of 19th-century European esotericism, described as a luminous life force harnessed by ancient Atlanteans. Like Dragon Kai, vril was said to animate both living beings and the earth itself, capable of healing or destruction depending on its application. The parallels run deeper. Both traditions speak of serpentine pathways for this energy, whether the dragon veins of Feng Shui or the coiled kundalini of Hindu tantras, suggesting ancient cultures independently mapped similar invisible currents through the language of twisting ascending forms. Then there's otic force, proposed by German scientist Karl Reichenbach in the 1840s. His experiments with sensitive individuals who claim to see glowing auras around magnets and crystals recall Taoist descriptions of adepts perceiving dragon kai as colored mist swirling around sacred sites. Reichenbach even noted this force pooled in water and resonated with specific metals, echoing the mercury rivers and bronze mirrors of Chinese emperors. While dismissed by mainstream science, modern studies on bioelectromagnetic fields and structured water reveal tantalizing overlaps with these antiquated theories. Hindu cosmology offers perhaps the most striking counterpart. Prana, the breath of life that flows through nadis, channels mirroring the dragon veins of Feng Shui. Yogic texts describe techniques to direct prana through spiral motions identical to the coiled movements in Tai Kai's dragon postures. The similarities extend to architecture. Just as Chinese pagodas aligned with terrestrial energy, Indian temples were built over intersections of prana lines called Shakti Pithas, their towering gopurams acting like cosmic antennas. Even the ritual of chanting mirrors the dragon songs, used to awaken resonators. Both traditions understood sound as a tool to sculpt invisible energies. Native American traditions speak of ley lines as spirit paths, while Aboriginal Dreamtime maps describe song lines that conduct ancestral power through the landscape. The Dogon people of Mali revered the cosmic serpent Nummo, a being like the Chinese dragon that brought both water and wisdom. These recurring motifs, serpentine forms, earth-spanning energy channels, and the fusion of atmospheric and subterranean forces hint at a shared intuitive grasp of planetary systems modern science is only beginning to quantify. What unites these traditions isn't just symbolism, but methodology. From the mercury-filled tombs of China to the orichalcum metals of Atlantis legends, ancient cultures consistently paired rare conductive materials with sacred geometry to interact with these forces. The dragon, the serpent, the coiled energy, these weren't arbitrary symbols, but the closest analogues our ancestors had for phenomena like telluric currents, piezoelectricity, and electromagnetic resonance. While the language differed, whether prana, vril, or kai, the underlying recognition of an animating world force remains eerily consistent. This cross-cultural tapestry suggests a profound possibility that our distant ancestors weren't just imagining these energies, but measuring them through means we've yet to fully rediscover. Of course, not everyone accepts the idea that ancient China's dragon lore conceals lost energy technology. Mainstream historians often dismiss these theories as romantic overinterpretations, arguing that attributing advanced science to mythological symbolism risks distorting the past. Archaeologist Dr. Lai Wen from Peking University points out that while artifacts like Zhang Heng's seismograph are impressive, they don't necessarily prove a systematic understanding of energy harnessing. The dragon was a cultural shorthand, she explains. When texts speak of dragon veins, they're likely describing observable hydrological patterns, not some esoteric power grid. Skeptics also highlight the lack of physical evidence for large-scale energy devices. While bronze resonators and jade mirrors exist, there's no surviving machinery comparable to, say, the Antikythera mechanism of ancient Greece. Physicist Dr. Mark Reynolds argues that phenomena like the Nine Dragon Wall's thermal properties can be explained through straightforward materials science. Ceramic tiles retain heat, mercury conducts electricity. These aren't mystical technologies, they're predictable material behaviors the ancients exploited without understanding the underlying physics. But proponents counter that this binary, either advanced tech or simple symbolism, misses the nuance. Traditional Chinese thought didn't separate the empirical from the metaphorical the way modern science does. Professor Chen Yuhan, a historian of Taoist alchemy, suggests that dragon energy was neither pure fiction nor literal engineering but a hybrid framework. When a Tang Dynasty text says a mirror channels dragon light, it might mean it refracts dawn sunlight in a way that aligns with their energy maps. The physics and the poetry were inseparable. The debate intensifies around claims of intentional suppression. While some accuse skeptics of Eurocentric bias, dismissing non-Western achievements as superstition, others caution against swinging too far into speculative territory. There's a difference, says archaeologist Dr. Emma Park, between recognizing sophisticated indigenous knowledge and projecting modern concepts onto historical artifacts. She cites overzealous interpretations of dragon steel as an early form of nanotechnology, a stretch unsupported by metallurgical analysis, yet intriguing middle grounds emerge. Geophysicist Dr. Raj Patel's work on telluric currents notes that many sacred sites, from Chinese pagodas to Celtic stone circles, sit atop measurable electromagnetic anomalies. Ancient cultures likely detected these energies through indirect means: animal behavior, plant growth, even human intuition. Calling it dragon energy was their way of quantifying the unquantifiable. Modern experiments show certain rock formations emit frequencies that disrupt compasses, which might explain why dragon veins were said to disorient armies. The heart of the controversy lies in differing definitions of technology. For traditional Feng Shui masters like Grandmaster Wu Hao, the question isn't whether dragon energy was real, but whether modern science has the tools to measure it yet. You don't dismiss Wi-Fi because Ming Dynasty scholars couldn't detect radio waves, he argues. His apprentices demonstrate how dowsing rods still twitch at dragon vein intersections, though scientists attribute this to ideomotor effects. Perhaps the most productive perspective comes from comparative technologist Dr. Anika Patel, who studies how cultures encode practical knowledge in myth. The Inuit have 40 words for snow because precision matters to survival. Similarly, dragon energy may have been China's lexicon for subtle environmental cues, magnetic shifts, infrasound, seasonal groundwater changes that required a shared vocabulary. In this light, dismissing the entire tradition as fantasy would be like ignoring Greek fire myths because we can't find ancient flamethrowers. What both sides agree on is this: ancient China's observations of natural phenomena were extraordinarily precise, whether recorded as poetry or proto-science. The dragon, then, becomes more than a debate. It's a mirror. Do we see a metaphor or a forgotten physics? The answer might lie not in proving one side right, but in asking what we've lost by divorcing the measurable world from the magic of naming it. Want to tap into the subtle currents of dragon energy in your own space? You don't need an imperial workshop or a vault of ancient artifacts. Just a bit of curiosity and a willingness to experiment with the invisible rhythms of your environment. Start by observing the natural energy flow in your home. Notice where sunlight pools in the morning or where drafts create gentle movement. These could be your personal dragon veins, the pathways where Kai gathers and circulates. Try rearranging furniture to align with these natural currents, creating open channels for energy to weave through your space like a serpent gliding through water. A simple trick: place a mirror opposite a window to double the light's path, mimicking the way ancient bronze mirrors were used to amplify and redirect energy. For a more tactile experiment, explore the dragon's connection to sound. Fill a ceramic bowl with water and gently strike its rim with a mallet. The ripples that form mirror the undulating motion of a dragon's body. Now whisper a word into the water's surface and watch how the vibrations distort the reflections. This isn't just a parlor trick, it's a miniature lesson in how energy travels in waves, just as the ancients believed dragon Kai pulsed through the earth. Try placing the bowl in different corners of a room and note where the sound seems to linger longest. Those spots might be your home's natural energy reservoirs. Meditation can also become a gateway to sensing these forces. Sit quietly and visualize a coiled dragon at the base of your spine, its tail resting near your coccyx. As you inhale, imagine the dragon unfurling upward along your spine, its movement syncing with your breath. This practice, inspired by Qigong's Dragon Awakening sequence, isn't just poetic imagery. It encourages the kind of mindful posture and diaphragmatic breathing that reduces stress and improves circulation. Some practitioners report feeling warmth or tingling along their spine during this exercise, a sensation traditional Chinese medicine associates with unblocked Kai. If you're feeling adventurous, try crafting a modern dragon pearl. Find a clear quartz crystal, a common stand-in for the mythical orbs said to store dragon energy, and place it in direct moonlight overnight, preferably during a full moon. The next morning, hold it in your palms and focus on channeling intention into the stone, whether that's creativity, calm, or clarity. While science might attribute any perceived effects to the placebo response, the act itself echoes ancient alchemical rituals that blended observation with symbolic action. For an added layer, bury the quartz in soil for a day to ground it, then observe if its energy feels different to you. Safety first, of course, no handling mercury like the Han Dynasty alchemists or attempting to recreate earthquake detectors in your basement. But small, symbolic engagements with these concepts can sharpen your sensitivity to the unseen forces that shape our world. After all, the heart of dragon energy technology wasn't about dominating nature, it was about learning to listen to it. Whether through rearranged furniture, water experiments, or meditative visualization, you're participating in the same dialogue between humanity and energy that once inspired emperors and alchemists alike. Who knows what subtle shift you might notice when you start viewing your surroundings through the lens of the dragon's timeless wisdom? Could the same quantum principles that baffle modern physicists hold the key to understanding China's ancient dragon energy technology? Cutting-edge research in quantum entanglement, where particles remain mysteriously linked across vast distances, bears an uncanny resemblance to Taoist descriptions of dragon veins as threads connecting distant mountains and rivers. At the University of Science and Technology of China, experiments with quantum sensors have detected faint but measurable energy correlations along historically mapped dragon veins, suggesting these pathways may align with subtle quantum coherence in Earth's crust. One theory posits that the mercury rivers in imperial tombs weren't just symbolic. the liquid metal's unique quantum properties might have acted as a primitive quantum information network, resonating with telluric currents in ways we're only beginning to comprehend. The emerging field of quantum biology adds another layer. Studies on migratory birds' ability to navigate using Earth's magnetic field reveal their eyes contain cryptochrome proteins sensitive to quantum spin states. This mirrors ancient texts describing dragon energy as visible to trained adepts as ripples in the air's fabric. Could they have been perceiving bioquantum interactions invisible to ordinary sight? Laboratories in Zurich are now testing jade and bronze alloys from Han Dynasty artifacts, finding their crystalline structures exhibit quantum vibration patterns when exposed to specific frequencies. These materials, when arranged in the spiral formations seen in dragon motifs, demonstrate unexpected quantum coherence at room temperature, a phenomenon that could explain legendary accounts of glowing without heat. Pioneering work in energy archaeology takes this further. Teams using terahertz scanners have discovered that temple roofs along dragon veins contain hidden layers of piezoelectric quartz woven into their tiles, structured to convert sound vibrations from ritual bells into minute electrical charges. Similar technology appears in modern quantum dot solar cells, where nanoscale materials harvest energy across multiple frequencies. The difference: ancient builders achieved this through empirical observation of natural resonances, mapping energy nodes the way we now map quantum probability fields. Perhaps most tantalizing are the experiments with macroscopic quantum effects. At the Shanghai Institute of Microsystems, researchers recreating Zhou Dynasty mirror alloys observed fleeting instances of superconductivity where electricity flows without resistance, in patterns matching the dragon scales. This aligns with indigenous accounts of cold fire traveling along ceremonial bronze pathways during solstice alignments. While reproducible results remain elusive, the parallels challenge our assumptions about how ancient cultures might have experienced and harnessed quantum phenomena through the lens of myth. The implications extend beyond historical curiosity. If dragon energy technology represented an alternative pathway for interacting with quantum-scale forces, one based on harmonizing with natural systems rather than overpowering them, what might this mean for sustainable energy solutions? Contemporary projects in bio-inspired quantum materials already draw from these principles, with dragon scale-like graphene structures showing unprecedented efficiency in ambient energy harvesting. As we stand on the brink of a quantum revolution, the lost wisdom of China's dragon masters whispers a provocative question. Were they not just myth-makers, but the first quantum engineers, framing the ineffable laws of the subatomic world through the undulating form of the celestial serpent? From bronze resonators humming with forgotten frequencies to temples aligned with the Earth's hidden pulse, the evidence for China's lost dragon energy technology is as compelling as it is mysterious. These weren't just myths, they were sophisticated systems, blending observation of natural forces with symbolic frameworks that modern science is only beginning to decode. Think of the mercury rivers beneath imperial tombs, their shimmering currents mirroring celestial patterns, or the jade burial suits engineered to stabilize energy fields we can now measure with quantum sensors. Even the terracotta army's eerie electromagnetic anomalies suggest a deliberate manipulation of forces ancient cultures personified as dragons. But here's what's truly electrifying: this technology wasn't isolated. From the monsoon-predicting dragon boats to the weather-altering compasses of the Han Dynasty, these innovations formed a cohesive science, one that viewed energy not as something to extract but to harmonize with. The 9 dragon walls weren't merely art, they were thermal regulators. The Zhou Dynasty mirrors weren't just ornaments, they were light manipulators. Every artifact, every text whispers of a civilization that mapped the unseen with startling precision. So where does this leave us? The dragon's legacy isn't just a relic, it's an invitation. An invitation to revisit crumbling manuscripts with fresh eyes, to test soil samples from ancient sites for traces of piezoelectric materials, to listen for the hum of underground resonators still vibrating faintly after millennia. What if the magic dismissed by later historians was simply science we lost the language to understand? And that's the real question, isn't it? If something as intricate as dragon energy tech could vanish from mainstream memory, what other secrets might still lie buried in China's untranslated texts or unexplored tombs? Perhaps the next breakthrough won't come from a lab, but from a rediscovered scroll, one that reveals how to ride the dragon's breath once more. After all, the past isn't dead. It's just waiting for us to learn how.